Hey friend, welcome back to this Old Baker podcast. I'm Kim and this is episode 51. So here's a question for you. When was the last time you pulled into a drive-thru just for a drink? Not even food, a drink. Maybe it was one of those big fancy energy drinks with all the mix-ins. Maybe it was a coffee order that took you a full minute to say out loud. Maybe it was a lemonade because it was 95 degrees outside and you were done parenting for the day. I get it. I have absolutely been that person. Sitting in a drive-thru line, engine running, radio on, just to get something cold and a little bit exciting. But here's the thing. Once you know what is actually in a lot of those drinks, and once you realize how easy it is to build that same flavor at home, that drive-thru line starts looking a lot less appealing. Not because you're trying to be perfect about it, just because you realize you've been paying $6 or $7 a day for something you can make in your own kitchen for pennies. That's what we're getting into today. Dropping the drive-thru and building crave-worthy drinks and mixes right at home. Let's start with coffee, because I know that's where a lot of you live. I've been building out a whole cold brew concentrate system in my own kitchen. And once you have that base sitting in the fridge, you are one pour away from whatever you're craving. Vanilla, caramel, mocha. It really doesn't matter. You make the concentrate once. You make a simple syrup once. And suddenly you have a coffee shop sitting in your refrigerator door. Here's how it actually plays out on a Tuesday morning. You pour some concentrate over ice. You add milk or cream or oat milk, whatever you keep on hand. You add a splash of your homemade syrup. You stir. That's it. No line, no app. No waiting for someone to call out your name wrong. And I want to be really clear about something. This isn't about dumping a packet of powder into water and calling it homemade. These are real syrups made from real ingredients, and you control exactly what goes into them. No mystery stabilizers, no ingredients you can't pronounce. Flavor made on purpose by you. Now let's talk lemonade, because this one surprised even me with how much people loved it. I built out a whole dry mix cluster for this. Strawberry, peach, you name it. The whole idea is you make one dry mix, you keep it in a jar in your pantry, and whenever the craving hits, you're not driving anywhere. You're mixing a glass in your own kitchen in under a minute. Cold water, a scoop of the mix, ice, done. What I love about this one especially is how well it works for kids. If you've got little ones who beg for a drive-thru lemonade every time you pass one, handing them a jar and letting them scoop their own mix turns the whole thing into something they get to do themselves. It stops being a want, and it starts being a fun kitchen moment. Same idea applies to the snow cone syrups I've been working on. Those actually started as a summer project for my own family. And they turned into one of my favorite things I've built, because it's not just for kids. A homemade snow cone syrup poured over crushed ice with a splash of soda water if you want it fizzy is basically a fancy drive-thru drink. Minus the drive-thru, minus the wait, minus the price tag. You can dress it up too. Pour it over ice in a mason jar. Add a splash of cream if you want something closer to a shaved ice treat. And suddenly you've got something that looks like it came from a specialty stand made entirely from what's already sitting in your pantry. I want to talk for a second about why this actually works beyond just the money. When you have a base ready to go, whether that's a cold brew concentrate, a lemonade mix, or a syrup, you remove the one thing that sends most of us to the drive-thru in the first place. Decision fatigue. It's the end of the day, you're tired, and standing in your kitchen trying to figure out what to make from scratch feels like one more task on a very long list. But if the base is already made, there's no deciding. There's no recipe to think through. You open the fridge, you see the jar, and the craving gets handled in about 90 seconds. That's the whole secret. Homemade doesn't have to mean more work in the moment. It just means the work happened once, ahead of time, so the moment itself is easy. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. You don't need a barista. You don't need a menu board with 40 options you have to memorize. You need a few good bases sitting in your fridge or your pantry, and you can build almost anything you're craving with what you already have on hand. So start with just one. Pick the drink you find yourself craving the most, whether that's coffee, lemonade, or something fruity and cold, and build that one base this week. Not all four, just one. Once you have it sitting in your fridge, you will genuinely reach for it before you reach for your keys. All the recipes I mentioned today, the cold brew concentrate, the coffee syrups, the lemonade mixes, and the snow cone syrups, they're all linked in the show notes. And you can find every one of them at thisoldbaker.com. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I know there are a lot of places you could be listening instead, and I don't take that lightly. If this episode saves you a drive-thru trip this week, I would genuinely love to hear about it. Come find me on social and tell me what you made or which base you're starting with. Until next time, keep building a pantry that works for real life. I'll talk to you soon.